Good evening all. കൊല്ലം ഫാത്തിമ മാതാ നാഷണൽ കോളേജിൻ്റെ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റ് ഓഫ് സൈക്കോളജിയുടെ ആഭിമുഖ്യത്തിൽ ലോക മാനസിക വാരാചരണത്തോട് അനുബന്ധിച്ച് നടത്തുന്ന വെബിനാർ സീരീസിൻ്റെ 4ാമത്തെ സെഷനാണ് ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ ക്രമീകരിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇന്നത്തെ ടോപ്പിക് ഹോം എൻവയോൺമെൻറ്റ് ഡ്യൂറിങ് COVID-19 എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. ഇന്ന് ഈ വിഷയത്തിൽ നമ്മോട് സംസാരിക്കാനായിട്ട് എത്തുന്നത് ബഹുമാനപ്പെട്ട ഫ്രെഡി ആൻ്റണി സാറാണ്. എവരെയും സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നതിനായി ഐ കോഡിയലി ഇൻവൈറ്റ് ഡോക്ടർ സജിമോൻ പി, അസിസ്റ്റന്റ് പ്രൊഫസർ, ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റ് ഓഫ് സൈക്കോളജി, ഫാത്തിമ മാതാ നാഷണൽ കോളേജ്. സജി സർ, പ്ലീസ്.
Okay. Hello. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Today is the 4th day of our webinar series on mental health. The topic for the day is home environment during COVID-19. This session is handled by Mr. Freddie Anthony. He is currently working as an assistant professor in clinical speech and hearing, Mysore. He had completed MSc from Psychiatry, Ranchi. Moreover, he is an alumnus of our department. Areas of interest are child psychopathology and behavior modification. On behalf of the Department of Psychology and accuracy of FMNC, I welcome you, sir, on this online gathering. A warm welcome to one and all.
Thank you, sir. I invite Mr. Freddie Anthony for delivering the lecture.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Screen.
Can you see the? Yes. Can you see the slides also?
Yes, yes.
Good evening, one and all. Thank you, Saji sir. Respected teachers, respected dignitaries, and my dear friends, let me take this opportunity to thank my parents, teachers, and my colleagues, and my family members for helping me throughout my journey. I also take this opportunity to thank my beloved director who gave me permission to attend this webinar in a very short notice. Without taking much time, I'm going directly to the topic. What happens if home, a non-living thing, has characteristics of a living thing? What happens if home has feelings of a human being? This is not a new thought. We have seen this in many animation movies and cartoon series where inanimate objects become animate things. The entire presentation is a response to that question. What happens to home if it has human-like feelings during this COVID-19 scenario? The most defining feature of home environment during COVID-19 is the disruption of the home identity. The identity of the home has suddenly undergone a tremendous change. Suddenly, the home has become an office or a workplace. The home has become a school or a classroom. For some cases, it has become even a hospital also. I am referring to those cases who are asymptomatic but are retained at home, what you call as asymptomatic COVID cases who are treated at homes. In that case, home has become a hospital too. So suddenly there has been a tremendous change in the identity of the home as such. You and I know the identity disturbance is not a good thing. We know that if individuals have identity, it can cause a tremendous problem. We have seen it. What happens if the identity is disturbed in an individual? We don't want our home to be like that, not like a Nagavalli or not like an onion. Perhaps we have not reached that state, but what is normal and abnormal? We have to see how to differentiate the normal state versus abnormal state. It is the presence or absence of our ability to recall our original identity. If we are able to recall the original identity of the home, we are healthy. But if gradually we start losing the identity of the home, I'm afraid we have started losing our identity. We may go to a disorder level also. But if we are able to recall our original identity, I don't think we are in that particular state. So that brings us to the main question: what is the identity of the home? This slide gives around 10 features of the home environment. These 10 features, these 10 characteristics are divided under 3 different groups. I will read it very quickly one by one, and then we discuss one or two in great detail. Number 1, the cohesion, the helpfulness and the functioning of the family as a unit. Expressiveness, the openness in emotional expression. Conflict, the open hostility, aggression between the family members. Independence, to what extent each family members are able to perform their own individual goals. Organization, the structure of the family. Control, the rules and rituals of the family. Orientation, achievement. It's about the emphasis of the family on the competitive aspect. Orientation, intellectual, emphasis of the family on the intellectual aspects. Orientation, recreation, the emphasis of the family on the social aspects. And sometimes the last, orientation on the moral, religious aspects also. So these 10 characteristics are divided under 4 different groups. Let us focus on the first 2 groups. The last one, the orientation cluster, I am not going to take it today because going into the merit of each, competition versus intellectual knowledgeability versus social activity versus spiritual activity, which is good, how much it is good, that is a totally separate topic that I am not going to touch upon today. I will be focusing on the first 2 aspects, the first 2 groupings in great detail in this presentation. What exactly is the identity in terms of the first and second slides? During COVID time, I'm saying during COVID time, all families are tested. The ability of the family in all the 10 parameters are tested. But for some families, the risk is more. Which are those family? The family which are going through the divorce process. The family which is going through the, let's say, the separation process. The family which there is a member who is suffering from mental illness. For those families where these scenarios are present, it will be severe testing. They will be challenged in a very highest level. So we have, those family has to be more careful, which is going through the divorce, separation and mental illness scenario. The numbers look very small, 1, 3 times, 13 times. But if you see in the absolute numbers, let's say the district of Kollam, we have around 26 lakhs population in Kollam. What happens is 1% of divorce means there is roughly around 26,000 females and 26,000 males. So it's around 500,000 people who are going through the divorce process. 3 times that, 1.5 lakhs people who are going through the separation process. 13.7% mental illness. For the population of Kollam, it made roughly around 3 lakhs people who are struggling from mental illness. Those absolute numbers are very high. But when you see in the thing 1%, 3%, 10%, it doesn't make a big number. But in absolute terms, take a district like Kollam, we have a huge number, 3 lakhs, 1.5 lakhs, 50 lakhs. Those families are struggling a lot. They will be tested severely on those test 10 parameters. And another interesting, may not be interesting, another troubling fact is that only 20% of that troubling people approach for services, approach for help. The remaining 80%, they try solving it without the help of a mental health professional. Those people will be struggling a lot. When we impose a lockdown, when we impose everything to be stuck, these families are going through a heavy pressure that we have to understand as mental health professionals. These families will be tested more. I'm sure all families will be tested on the 10 parameters. I repeat, the third group, the orientation group, we are going to leave. We will take the other two group and try to understand it in a much deeper level, how we can improve our home environment process. Let's look at the first group, especially the second and third one. If you look very carefully, expressiveness or conflict, expressiveness and conflict, these are relating to the emotional aspect. It is relating to the emotional aspect of the family. So therefore, we combine and learn it, try to understand what is the expressiveness, the openness in emotions of the family, as well as the conflict level of the family. Let us go deeper into the emotional aspect of the home environment. Item number 2 and item number 3, expressiveness and conflict. So I'm going to the subtle part of those emotional aspects. The quality of content and the quality of tone on it, the interaction between the family members, we have to see 5 different components. It is very important to evaluate these 5 different components. Number 1, critical comments. Number 2, hostility related comments. Number 3, emotional over involvement. Number 4, positive remarks. And the 5th one is warmth. First 3, 1, 2, and 3 are positive in nature. The last 2, positive remarks and number 1, 2, 3 are negative in nature. The last 2 are positive in nature. In general, in a healthy family, the positive aspects will be more and the negative aspects will be less. I am not going to say ulta, in the sense, in a unhealthy family, the negative aspects will be more and the healthy aspects will be less. This is pure common sense. You don't need to be a psychologist or a mental health professional to say that. But there is one strong research insight which says that it's very important for all our mental health professionals to understand that the more the time we spend together, the more the negative interactions. I repeat, the more the time we spend together, the more the negative interactions. So if you spend more time together, there is more likely a lot of negative interaction. This is a natural fact. This is a natural fact we have to understand, where as we spend time together, we are prone to have a lot of negative interaction. This is a natural fact. Therefore, this COVID time, we have seen work from home, we have seen online classes, father who was outside the home for 8 hours, a child who was outside the home for 8 hours, all are back in the home. Therefore, naturally, the time spent together has increased. Therefore, I can clearly assume the 1, 2, 3, the negative aspects have clearly increased. This is a natural fact. What we have to understand is the parents, the family need not get panic about that. What we have to understand is just get prepared and just expect, okay, since I am going to spend more time, since my kids and my husband, maybe wife is spending too much of time in a home, there is a natural increase in the negative interaction. This is a natural fact. So this is nothing abnormal. Once the go back to the usual normalcy, automatically the negativity will come down it. So I repeat, the more the time we spend together, there is more likely a lot of negative interaction. So, and let me go through one by one. What are those negative interactions? Critical comments. It involves anger, rejection, irritable, blame and neglect. Hostility is a generalized criticism or rejection of the family member. I will give you an example. Let somebody says, why are you late today? Why are you late today? It's a critical comment. You are blaming that person. You are rejecting that person to be late. But on the other hand, if you say, why are you always late? That's a generalized comment saying that he keeps on coming late and late. That is considered as a hostility comment. So critical comment is specific to one event, whereas hostility is a generalized event. Students of psychology will know that what happens with a generalized, overgeneralized statement, what you call as a cognitive error. So individual independent comment specific to one event will be a critical comment, whereas a generalized comment like, why are you always angry with me? Why are you always right? Why are you always scolding? These are all generalized criticism, as well as rejecting the member, like you are a waste, you are good for nothing, you are waste, it's better you should have not, go and get out of this home. These are all generalized comments. We are rejecting the person. So these two comments usually has a chance to increase whenever we spend more time together at home. COVID time is the right time where we can see this kind of spike in these negative comments. And the third point, what I call as emotional over-involvement. I read excessive concern, anxiety about minor matters, markedly protective attitude, members blaming themselves. Themselves is the term. Members blaming themselves. The first one, we were blaming the other person. Here, I am blaming myself. So I blame myself, as well as I sacrifice, as well as I neglect my own needs. So the parent is overly involving with the kids. The family member is overly involving with the other person with reference to over anxiety, over protection, self-blame, and sacrificing things which he or she should have done. These three negative interactions, there is a more chance of increasing, thereby reducing the quality of home identity, home atmosphere, when family members spend time together. That's important. When family members spend time together, there is a spike. This is a natural reaction. No need to get abnormal. No need to get overreactive. Understand this is as part, since we are spending more time, we have a natural tendency to increase it. So as go back to normal, it automatically comes down. Now, interestingly, what the suggestion is usually what we comment is be aware of it. Be aware of it. Be expectant. We just be aware of it and be so that we can reduce that particular thing. And it's not a big thing. Our parents and our mothers used to know it. They used to blame. Why there is a holiday given, summer holidays, Onam holidays, because they are fed up with the kids. It's usual school days, kid will be in the school, but come holidays, they will be there for the whole long time. So naturally, mother's headache gets increased. So she says, mother says, why are they giving holidays first? I'm sure most of you must have heard it. Most of you must have told it also. Why they give holidays? They should get, the office should be working on Sundays also. You must have seen your spouse telling it. Why they are keeping Sunday holiday for you? Because the more you spend time, at the end of the day, there will be high spike, and the natural, general, normal tendency, you expect it. Don't get extremely panic or anxious about it. You expect and get prepared for that. So that is one point. And then I go to the next one thought, which says that there are some families, we told about divorce, separation, and mental illness. There are some families, even if we intervene, we'll start working on them, they may not improve a lot. They are called as they are difficult outcomes. They are difficult to change. There are some personality factors which we have seen in the family members. Even if we work with them, they don't improve the way we expect them to improve. For example, extremely impatient members, extremely rigid members, and extremely non-empathetic members. These people tend to be slow to change. These people tend to change very, very slowly, and sometimes they don't change at all also. Now, the point is, again, this percentage is also very high. Some say it is 10%, it may go up to 25% of the population also. That's a huge number. 25% of the population, if they have this kind of a personality, even if we intervene, we have to intervene. Even if we intervene, there is a probability they may change very, very, very slowly. Let me go to the next slide, where again the previous slide, which says that the third one, we ignored it. We are not going to discuss this today. The emotion aspect. 2 and 3 we discussed. I will go to the next cluster, what you call as organization and control. Organization and control, which talks about the structure, which talks about the rules and routines in the family. Structure, rules, and routines in the. It looks very silly. What is the structure of the home? What are the rules of the home? What is the routine of the home? It looks very silly, but we have tremendous amount of research showing that a family which has a better structure, better rules, and better routine will come up very fast from a stressful event. I repeat, they spring up very fast from a stressful event. Even if there is a disaster in the family, even if there is a stressful event in the family, even if there is a strong negative life event in the family, these families tend to recover faster. These families tend to spring. These families tend to adjust much faster. Those families with structure, rules, and routines. It looks very, very small, very simple thing for us. But we have seen one of the factors. This is basically a research done on people who has gone through tremendous shock, but who have come up, successfully come up. Those who are calmer and those who have come up, we found that they have a structure, they have a rule, and they have a routine. Those families tend to succeed a lot compared to other families. With one stress, they may go deep and deep and deep. I'm going deeper into that, the structure, rules, and routines with reference to this particular slide. So what happens is, the word is rhythmicity. That's the term which we use. A rhythmic family, which has a rhythm, a structure, a routine, a ritual is there. What you call as a rhythmic family. Rhythmic families function, are governed by consistent rules, rituals, and routines. Consistent rules, rituals, and routines. Consistent between people, consistent between time also. Today I tell one thing, after 1 week I forget it. Today if somebody does something, another family member does the ulta. Doesn't make any sense. It should be consistent across people. It should be consistent across situation also. Interesting thing, you must have seen many of the parents hitting the child. And why the parent is hitting the child hit another child. The problem is, your son hit another child. Because of that, the father is hitting the child. So you are saying don't hit, and you are doing the same thing. You say don't hit, but you do the same thing. I'm sure most of the families must have experienced it. You tell don't hit, but you hit. What kind of rule is this? You tell one thing to your kid, and you does the same thing for you. Like, come example of this, how we use this mobile phone also. We scold them for using too much of mobile, and by the time we can see the parents using most of the time playing with the mobiles also. So the request is to the parents are, be consistent across people, be consistent across situations also. Now, why? The second line tells why, the underlying, the crux. Because if we are rhythmic, it gives a sense of what is expected in each family. I know what I'm going to do at that particular point of time. I know what I'm going to do at the next point of time. I know when to sleep. I know when to eat. I know when to go for breakfast. I know when to go for bath. I know when to go for study. Everything is systematic. Each and everyone knows what is going to happen next. It gives you a sense of predictability. It gives us a sense of predictability. This is why wonderfully a huge number of researchers are documenting that rhythmic families tend to be more successful in terms of doing. Looks very simple things, like you have a regular time for having breakfast, a regular time for having pray, a regular time for having going for shopping, regular time for having eating your dinner, regular time for studying. So that rhythmicity will make you a better family members. You can clearly work out with success in this part. Again, COVID is going to affect that. It must have changed. The routine might have got changed. For example, there could be a mother who used to sleep in the afternoon. Right now, she can't sleep because the kid is available. There could be a family who used to watch some programs in the morning, TV programs. Now they can't watch it because of the classes going on. There could be a lot of changes in the rhythmicity. So the ideal family, the better this family has to look on that. But can I make my routine much perfect during this COVID time so that my family is not affected or my family is least affected? The first and the fourth, what you call as cohesion and independence, these are basically end state. If the 2 and 3 and the second group are settled, automatically the first and 4 automatically gets settled. So that's why I'm not going to spend too much of time on the cohesion and independent parts. The important aspect is the emotional aspect in terms of the 3 negative comments and the rhythmicity aspect of the family. I will take through one more thing, which is a very, very common complaint during this particular time. We have gotten n number of calls, n number of referrals from our parents, n number of referrals from parents, maybe parents of children with disability as well as normal, saying that I can't manage this, what you call as temper tantrums. My child is showing too much of temper tantrum. What can I do? What should I do? Therefore, I thought it's a very common. It is something which, as an expert, also we should be aware of. How are you going to deal with that? So, temper tantrum, very common behavior problem reported by most of the kids. I take this opportunity to explain the process. So, temper tantrum usually happens in 4 stages: stage 1 to stage 4. The stage 1 is the first stage where it starts with a child demanding something. Let's say the child is asking for a chocolate. Mommy, give me a chocolate. Or Papa, give me a chocolate. The first stage is the child demands something. It's very important to note that the first stage starts with child demanding something. We have to contrast with this in another scenario where the mother asks or parents ask, come and do the homework. And the child starts showing tantrum. Here, the stage 1 is the parents' demands. It's very important distinctions to be made. Many times missed by our parents, many times missed by the colleagues also. They don't differentiate the starting point. If the child demand, then only it will be called as tantrum. If it is a parent demand, it is never tantrum. The treatment is also different. Usually in common life, we don't differentiate between these two. Therefore, we end up doing the wrong strategy for the wrong behavior. So I repeat, the stage 1 is where the child demands, mommy, give me a chocolate. That goes to the second stage where automatically the mother says no. She won't say no, or he won't say no. What he says is, oh, beta, I didn't bring my laptop or my purse. Money is not there in the purse. You already ate 1 chocolate. Chocolates are not good for health. It will decay your teeth, these kind of sentences, which means no. You don't say no, but you say sentences which means no. The child demands, and the second stage, no, which is in different statement, and comes spontaneously. Our parents are so nice and wonderful. I don't know from where this so-called lies get. They have some explanation to say that no, I am not going to give because of a number of reasons. So beautifully, they will come out with a lot of reasons. Listening to this, the child will go to the third stage, what we call as the tantrum stage. Listening to the no, the child will start throwing tantrum. It can be screaming, it can be rolling on the floor, sitting on the road, pulling your hair, pulling others' hair, whatnot. So the child will start throwing the tantrum in the third stage. And once the parent is unable to tolerate this tantrum, she may say, okay, I will give it to you. Suddenly the purse appears. Suddenly the money in purse appears. Suddenly teeth decays disappears. So what happens over here, if you look at it, what happened here is the no, which the mother said in the second stage, suddenly becomes yes in the final stage. So there is a shift happened between no become yes. Now what we generally say, listen to this. It is the inconsistency in the parents which leads to temper tantrums. It's a very beautiful insight which most of us lack. It is the inconsistency in the parents which leads to temper tantrum. Usually the ulta comes. Mother will come and have 101 complaints about the child, saying that child is having temper tantrums. He does this, he does this, she does this, he does this. But actually ulta is happening. Temper tantrum is completely explained by the inconsistency in the parents. You say no in the first place, and you yourself change it to yes. So what happens is, what is the solution over here? I can't say no always. I can't say yes always also. What is the solution over here? The solution is this. Again, many of my colleagues make it wrong. This is the solution. If you say no in the second stage, it has to be no. If you say yes in the second stage, It has to be yes. You can say no, you can say yes. It's up to you. But whatever you say in the second stage, at no level, you are not supposed to change it. If you change it, what you call as inconsistency, you are gone. You are in the trap and the child is going to manipulate you. The answer is whatever you say, it can be yes, fourth stage also yes. It can be no, the fourth stage is also no. Now the problem is that also I will tell. What is the problem? Where is the problem? I told you the second stage no. Purse is not there, money is not there. You already have eaten something. Chocolates are not good for your health. All these comes automatically. All these excuses or reasons or explanations comes automatically without your awareness. So there is an issue of lack of awareness in the second stage. It spontaneously comes. So generally in the usual behavior modification program, we spend time to target that. You think, then take a decision. I repeat, you think, then take a decision. It can be yes, it can be no. But once you take it, you are not supposed to change in the last stage. So anybody who listen to it, don't think from tomorrow onwards, I will start doing it. Don't do it. It will be a disaster. But if anybody wants to do it, please spend 1 or 2 weeks to feel it. Okay, I am saying no here, but after some time, I am doing yes here. After I am doing no here, I am doing changing to yes. So just feel it. Just feel it. Since it is happening unaware, there is more chance you may miss it. So don't start from tomorrow any technique. You just spend your time to understand this awareness. And I would request you consult any of the psychologists or clinical psychologists available in your town so that you can go through the proper behavior modification program. The answer is think and take a decision, and don't change this particular decision. So let me go to the last third point of my slide, where I'm going back to the initial slide where we talked about the defining feature of the home environment is disruption of the home identity. I repeat, the disruption of the home identity. Now, there is one more thing. This was sudden. COVID came suddenly and everything has to be changed. We need to redo it very fast. Now, what we have to understand, the disruption has already happened. Home already has become what you call as a supermarket. With online shopping, we started doing a lot of, instead of going to the market, we started the home become market. We did it. That was very gradual without our awareness. We never realized it. Whereas school, online classes, work from home, it came very quickly and rapid. That's why we are feeling the disruption much quicker. But home has already become a supermarket. Before that, I can again tell you, home has already become a place of worship, like puja room, prayer hall, namaz ka jagah, whatever it is. Home has already become a place of worship. So if the school, the work home, the hospital, the work setting could have been very new, but supermarket is already there. And what's already before that is there, home as a place of worship. That gives us the clue how to go about it. Home as a worship. Probably this last slide, where I will say the home as a worship will give you how to go about it. Because home as a worship had a specific manner of activity, a specific place of activity, as well as a specific time of activity. Whatever activity, even school also should have a specific manner, a specific place, and a specific time. Even if you work, you maintain that distance. I will work here. One day I sit here, another day I sit in another room, third day I go to the what you call upstairs. Don't do that. If you want to work, perfectly work, have a specific place, a specific time, and a specific manner. So if you are able to stick on to this, it's basically what we call as rhythmicity. It's basically the same thing appears here. So if you are rhythmic in the manner, place, and time, this place and time, we can bring back the home identity as it is. So it doesn't make too much of effort. If you have the rhythmicity, take care of the negative emotions, probably we can end up doing a much better home identity. We can maintain a much positive home environment, even though stress is there everywhere, strain is there everywhere. So I will finish it over this particular session. I don't want to further, I'm almost reaching across my 30-minute schedule. So I can summarize it. I started with the identity disruption. I can summarize with this particular slide where I started with. This slide gives you the theoretical concept I have used in this particular talk. I started with the dissociative identity disorder. Then I went to family environment scale. Then I discussed what I call as expressed emotion. The 3 negative emotions are called as expressed emotion concept. Then I talked about the type A personality in terms of impatient, in terms of rigidity, in terms of lack of empathy. Then I talked about rhythmicity. Then I talked about the behavior modification techniques, the habit reversal training, and the active scheduling process. With this, I think I can finish my very short talk on this particular thing, and it's open for you.
The webinar.
Hello.
Dear participants, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദിക്കാനായിട്ടുള്ള ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ്, നിങ്ങളുടെ ക്ലാരിഫിക്കേഷൻസ് ഇതെല്ലാം നിങ്ങളുടെ സ്ക്രീനിൽ കാണുന്ന Q&A എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ആ ഒരു ഓപ്ഷനിൽ ടൈപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദിക്കാനായിട്ട് ഉള്ള അവസരം ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കും. ഫ്രെഡി സാറിനോട് ചോദിക്കാനായിട്ടുള്ള ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ കൂടുതൽ ക്ലാരിഫിക്കേഷൻ ആവശ്യമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അത് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനായിട്ട് Q&A എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ആ ഒരു ഓപ്ഷൻ ഉപയോഗിച്ച് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദിക്കാനായിട്ട്. അപ്പോൾ Freddy sir, we have a question.
Yes.
How we can change the behavior of a child who is dominating to his or her mother?
If you strictly go through the behavioral model, okay, behavioral model, I am very specific with the behavioral model. First thing is, I want to change this word dominating. Dominating is a label. Dominating is a generalized label. The first thing, the suggestion is, try to be specific. What do you mean by dominating? Let's, for example, it may be he demands something and the mother has to oblige to that problem. And it's very easy and it is very important to say that he demands what? There will be something which commonly he keeps on asking. There will be something he openly every time, like could be a chocolate, could be some toy, something like that. So try to see that. The first point is that I'm not happy with the word dominating. I will work to identify what you mean by the word dominating. I'll try to specify it in behavioral. Then probably I will track it for 3 to 4 days. Probably I will track it for 3 to 4 days. In terms of what is the frequency, what is the, what you call the severity of the illness. That's the second stage. Then I'll try the analysis with this particular chart. I have 4 days of data. I will try to see why the child is happening. Look at the word. I will try to understand why the child is happening. The child may be asking this either to get what he wants, or maybe he may be asking you to get to the scolding or the kind of attention you want. That is something you have to differentiate. Why the child is doing like that need not be the thing. He may, like many parents with this, I start scolding it, he'd start laughing it. The moment you start scolding, he'll start laughing it. So the third point, what we do, you define the behavior, you collect the data, you analyze the behavior to understand why the child is doing it. Based on the why, we have to plan. If it is something he wants, again, it goes back to temper tantrum. Go back to some temper tantrum. You decide, his child asks something, whether I am going to give or not, you decide first and stick onto that particular thing. That is the simplest answer. So define the behavior, then measure the behavior, analyze to see why the child is doing. Is it because of to get something, or is it because of our social attention? If that can be decided, the therapeutic plan can get designed. If it is for to get attention, you have to cut down attention, what you call as ignoring technique. If you have to see he is demanding for something which he gets, then the temper tantrum model will work. That is an extremely technical answer. I don't know whether you are a technical person. So this is the way, the ideal the correct behavior modification happens. Identify the behavior, define the behavior, measure the behavior, analyze to find why the child is doing it. Is it to get something or is it social attention? Then you decide it. Social attention, ignore it. To get something, temper tantrum. Think and tell the answer.
Sir, another question from Alisha C. Bashir.
Yes.
How to avoid the irregular sleeping habits of children during these days?
I assume the child is a normal, healthy kid, and I assume the child is having no history of seizure also. So no history of seizure, no history of retardation, and no disabilities. So ideally, sleep is a biologically determined activity. It has to be rhythmic. Most of us know it is called as biological rhythm. So try to see what is the sleeping pattern right now, let's say 3 or 4 days, and see how the amount of sleep. I repeat, the amount of sleep. Some people will require 8 hours of sleep. Some people require 7 hours of sleep. Try to understand that. You can think of the pre-COVID level. What was the duration of sleep? Let's say 8 hours used to sleep. Nowadays, you see what is the average. He is sleeping later in the night. Like instead of sleeping at 9 o'clock, he started leaving at 11 o'clock. That is something which you have to make a decision. It may take 3 to 4 days to look into that particular homework activity. And ideally, it's not a big issue. So it's a habit. It's nothing but an habit. So you can slowly, like you can start with like, better I want you to sleep at some particular time. The time is based on whatever data you provided, based on the previous data also, as well as the duration of the sleep. You start sticking it. Let's say 10 o'clock, I'm going to fix it. You say 10 o'clock, light off, you have to sleep. That's one point. One point again, which comes to mind is there are some children who go to bed, but take a lot of time to get sleep. There is an in-bed time will be very more, like 10 o'clock go to sleep, but he starts sleeping at 10:45. I hope the child doesn't have that also. He goes to bed, he sleeps much faster. So in that sense, ideally, go through the data, fix a time, and you insist. After that, no activity. You have to sleep, stick on to that, and you can reduce all those stimulating activities. Let's say some play is there, mobile play is there, some TV running is there. So you can cut down all those activities. That's the way you have to do it. It's basically habitual training, habit training, which may take, I will say, around 2 weeks time to reschedule. It's not a severe issue at all, assuming there is no history of seizure, assuming there is no history of development delay. So it's a habit training. You just go with habit training, it can be done. Any other question?
Sir, one more question from Dhanya Mary. How
Yes.
can we manage a irritable and restless child not cooperating to study?
Oh my God. So
What
irritable.
So how can we manage an irritable and restless child not
Okay.
cooperating to study?
Okay, so irritable, non-cooperative child. So the first question which comes to mind is this irritability is only specific with study time. So there are some children who become irritable when you ask him to study. There are some children, otherwise they are okay. They are always irritable and all. So there is a first distinction I have to make. Irritability is specific to learning activity. Irritability always throughout the day. So both are two different kids. So that is one thing which comes to our mind. We have to differentiate. If it is academic related issue, like otherwise is okay. Irritability is coming with only academic thing. I repeat the same answer to the previous questionnaire, where I told about irritability again is a label. Irritability again is a label. I will be happy if you can specify what do you mean by irritability. It could be not obeying to that command, not sitting at a one place. You maybe replaying in unwanted comment. So you just specify what is the even what is level also. There are some your kid is having the same thing. There are some children who may have what you call as learning disability or scholastic issues. So that has to be ruled out. And there are some children who are academically good, but they don't like the process of learning. They are not called LD. They have education problems only because they have the ability, they do it, but they don't like the process. They don't like the process. We have to think in a different level. So all those evaluations has to be done. And in this particular scenario, what we recommend will be a process of contingency management. So if you study, you will get a reward. If you don't study, you will miss that particular reward consistently. That is the basic program which will work it. We will start with the same thing which I told: specific place, specific process, and specific time. So good study habits has to be inculcated. It's not that whenever you are free, you are a mother, you are a father, when you are free, you start teaching. That is not going to work, because along with you, along with the child, the brain also has to participate in the learning. If the brain wants to be available for you, the brain has to be tuned, what you call as brain learning. So ideally, try to teach the child at the same place, at the same point of time. So what happens is that brain will be attuned to that particular process. I assume the child is not having LD here. He's academically good. He doesn't want to do it. So we'll start with the good learning habits, same place, same time, every day. We start doing it, ending up with the reinforcement, so that becomes the motivation to do it. What we call as contingency management. It's a lengthy process, can be done. If the child is not having a pure academic issue like learning disability, you can consult any psychologist back in your wherever you are, and they will guide you. Any more? Is there any other question?
Thank you, sir. We are almost in the end of this session. I would like to invite Dr. Fresnel Das, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, Fatima Mother National College, for delivering vote of thanks. Fresnel, sir.
Yeah, Sujan. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks. I take this opportunity to thank Mr. Freddy for clearly explaining the difficulties of adjusting to a new reality, the issues and patterns to look out for, and that as sharers of the common identity that we can all identify with, and also proposing the viable solutions and the self-help tips that we can all adopt. And I also thank the active participants, the willful listeners, and those who engaged in the Q&A sessions. I thank you all on behalf of the Department of Psychology, Fatima Mother National College. I thank you all. I wish you a very wonderful evening. Thank you. Sujan.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Freddy, sir. And we are now winding up this session. Thank you so much for your participation. A small note about tomorrow's session. Tomorrow's session will begin at 8 o'clock. Dr. Nida Joseph is the resource person for tomorrow's session, and she is handling the topic Young Adulthood Stresses and Coping with Them. Young Adulthood Stresses and Coping with Them. Dr. Nida Joseph is the resource person, and we will send the invitation link at 6 o'clock tomorrow. Once again, thank you so much, Freddy, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Freddy, sir.
Oh, thanks. Sir, കഴിഞ്ഞില്ലേ?
Dear participants, feedback form link is available in the chat box. Kindly provide the feedback form.